welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us.
We met in June of this year.
We did.
We had a wonderful dinner down in what?
It was at ISSN. So we.
Yeah.
That was Florida?
Florida.
Yeah, Florida.
Yeah.
It was a nice little break from a lot of science to get to know you guys. We kind of thrust ourselves into the world of Basic Supps. But anyone listening has probably watched our video on Instagram, but probably doesn't know very much. So you guys want to give us a quick intro to Basic Supps and also tell us about yourselves as well.
Yeah, no, thanks, guys. It's a pleasure for Laura and I to be on the podcast and see you guys again. It's hard to believe it's been 4 months now since ISSN, which is pretty cool. But we have come a long way. With a lot of hard work from our great team here at Basic Supps. Myself, I've been lucky to be in the industry for about 20 years now. It's hard to believe it's been 2 decades already, but I've known Laura for a little while before that as well too, and we kind of got together.
On like 6 years.
6 years now
Really?
in total, yeah, and it's part of the Basic story as well too. Basic Supps has been something that's been on the back of my mind for the longest time because really, as the name suggests, right, you want to keep things simple, right? You want to keep back to basics. That's a term, that's a notion that we've heard forever, almost everything. In fact, I was just watching, a commercial the other day and said, hey, there's nothing wrong with going back to basics. The more basic, the better. And what a cool novel idea to create a nutritional supplement line, sport nutrition line called Basic Supplements. So Laura and I have been talking the last little while, and known Laura through her years in manufacturing as well too. And Basic Supps is new, it's novel. It is exactly what the name suggests, back to basics.
Would you, Mark, we're here in person, so we have a little bit of time, I think more than usual. Can we get a little bit of your personal background here?
Yeah, for sure. Been in industry 20 years. Out of school, I actually worked in the pharmaceutical industry for a pharma company in sales, which was really cool. Had a chance to do that. And then through some of my own goals and some of my own things I learned along the way, had a natural passion for nutritional supplements. Had some health issues, studied. It's going back 25 years now, and looking at nutrition supplements have come a long way in the last little while. So started with a sport nutrition brand in Toronto, Canada, a big bodybuilder brand called NHF Sport. Probably no one remembers it right now, but that was probably one of the first time when you saw like thermogenics and whey proteins and creatines and that kind of stuff. This goes back to like the late 90s and so on. From there, joined IOB Health Sciences, was there for about 6 years working on the U.S. business, learned an absolute ton, loved the industry, fell in love with the passion of the people behind it. Went after that, worked for a distributor in Canada, one of the bigger ones. Had the opportunity to work with more great people, and I think that's something that this industry has, a community of good people who really care about each other, care about the industry itself as a whole, and really some of the most brilliant minds when it comes to nutritional supplements. From there, worked with True North Nutrition, and was able to work with great brands like Cellucor, Nutrabolt, ProSups, Gaspari Nutrition. Some of the names go back years and decades ago. After that, joined a new brand in Canada called BioSteel Sports. That was something that was really interesting because as much as you love working with the biggest brands in the industry, there was something about starting something from the very bottom, right? And I joined there as employee number 13, and we were a brand that wasn't ready for the commercial retail market just yet. We were selling to professional sports teams across North America, so we were NSF certified, real emphasis on quality of ingredients, quality supplements, quality formulas. Really clean, transparent labels and so on. So was there for a good ride of 9 years, and in the last little while, following BioSteel's transition to new ownership, had some time off, wanted to do my own thing and work with the best minds, the best people, and best companies and best partners. And through that, met Laura, who at the time was with a manufacturer. And in the last little while, we said, hey, what if we do something really cool and do something together? So Basic Supplements was born, basically play on words. Essential ingredients, quality ingredients, quality without compromise, essential ingredients, simplified nutrition made for everyone. Part of my vision that we had talked about when we first started talking together was that how do we make something that's really, really formidable out in the market that's not as innovative as the ones out there, and that's okay. What makes this industry so great is that you have companies and brands and products that have very, very complex formulas, but how do you make something that's available for everyone, really the essentials for the most part, and it's not going to break the bank? So we're excited about the launch, and we're excited to work with you guys and tell you more about our brand. And yeah, that's it's been a great 6 months, and we're ready for month number 7 to launch this thing.
Awesome. And that's part of the big story here is that we're actually at the manufacturer here. You're going to fully disclose where it's manufactured. And for that, we are very grateful. And we're going to get a very cool tour tomorrow while the products are running. So couldn't be more excited. We're allowed to disclose it, right? We're here at NutriBlend Foods.
Absolutely, yeah.
Here in Buffalo, New York.
NutriBlend Foods, yeah. So one thing I did mention about my time at BioSteel, and as I mentioned, BioSteel was a brand out of Toronto that was selling to all the professional sports teams across the country and across the world in all different sports. NutriBlend was our manufacturer. So I've known the NutriBlend family and people like Laura for almost 10 years now. And when my transition after BioSteel was complete, if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to partner with the right people, it's going to be NutriBlend Foods. So hence why we're here today in their facility here in Buffalo, New York. But they were the the manufacturing arm behind BioSteel. So it was a natural transition for me to work with people I already knew in a place in a facility that's trusted by the very best.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Laura, I didn't know you were around for 6 years. I thought you came directly from Mars or whatever. So not the planet, but the company.
I think I came from Venus. My background's a little bit different. I started my career in the days when BlackBerry was taking off. So my first job out of school was at an agency, kind of as all of the marketing technology was taking off, becoming new. Advertisers would know what people have engaged with in an ad, and it was like, oh, we can spend our money different to get results. Obviously, that game has changed entirely since 20 years ago. So I was at that agency for about 7 years. Worked across a variety of different clients, from tech to consumer packaged goods. Wound up jumping ship and going consumer packaged goods. Really wanted to be part of the brand. It was always cool to be on the executional side, but like understanding what decisions were driving the creative brief, I understood my brands that I was working for. It was like I was an extension of them, but it was always one step removed from why are we making these decisions. So that's when I jumped and went to Mars. I worked at Royal Canin for about 5 years, and then found the opportunity at NutriBlend Foods when we were working from a contract manufacturing standpoint. You're going back, it's almost like agency days again, understanding the brands and then understanding how to execute and get their products down the line. So I was running sales and marketing for NutriBlend during that period. And then I had a baby. So my transition plan out for mat leave, the team here, we kind of divided up what I was managing, and the team here has just taken it and run with it. So when I came back, it was great timing for Mark to be like, hey, I'm kind of available and want to do this brand thing. I miss actually owning the brand and getting it out into the world. And I think with all of the clutter and all of the messaging and all of the different marketing tactics, being choiceful and living our mantra across the board, from what's going in the bottle all the way through to what are we actually doing to get this product in the world, settling back into our quality without compromise. What are we doing? I talked to you earlier about the premise of the kind of juxtaposition of Basic representing quality, because it's not necessarily a basic message in that we're fighting. It's something that, Mark, you've had to spend a lot of time talking about with customers. I think our initial conversations with you guys were like, yeah, but it's basic, but it's really quality premium stuff. So that's kind of the battle that we're ready to take to market.
Yeah, it's a great point. One of the terms that we had talked about, I think it was over a phone call, and we said, affordable excellence, right? And that's where you didn't want to. I mean, anyone can make a very basic, simple formula, but is there going to be a quality story behind it? Whether it's a combination of ingredients or the dosage or where it's sourced and so on. And so many times, I mean, I'm a bit of a nerd being in the industry so long, because I remember back in the days before even camera phones, right? You'd walk around and do store tours with the company camera, right? And go into a Walmart or a Rite Aid, and you look at consumer behavior in the section. Even in a GNC, for example, right? People would look at the product and they kind of, cool label, look at the back, really don't know what they're looking for, but they're trying to find that hidden message. Like, what am I looking for that's going to make me buy it? And sometimes, unfortunately, people just put it back and say, okay, I'll think about it later. We wanted to kind of bring everything to the forefront of our story on the front of the label, and also even in the formula itself as well too. How do we keep it simple where it's truly is a supplement made for everyone, that they're going to understand it pretty clearly. There's nothing overcomplicated about it. They're certainly not intimidating, and at the same time, for those self-serve environments in retail, that they're like, okay, this is exactly what I'm looking for. This is what I heard on PricePlow. This is what I should be buying, right? Yeah.
In my first podcast being with PricePlow, we had a gentleman on who made a really interesting argument for proprietary blends coming back. I'm not going to make that argument, but one of the things that he said was that back in the day, there was a sort of mystery or attractiveness to the fact that you were purchasing a product looking for the benefit of it. And you weren't breaking it down for these 12 different ingredients that you may or may not know, the clinical studies behind them, and all the things that you need to know to understand all these things. A roundabout way of saying, like, I do think we're getting back to a simplicity point. I think it's pretty well shown in the industry right now. Daily driver pre-workouts are very popular. The prices are coming down. It's not as much of like a throw as much at the wall and see what sticks type thing. And consumers are kind of simplifying their needs. So I love affordable excellence. I wrote that down. We haven't said that yet, but that was really cool.
Yeah, keep that. We say this all the time, but like we have heard so many times, Mike and Ben, I'm going to show you the most innovative thing in the world. And
we came and we're like, we want to talk about basics.
Exactly. And so it's inevitably, it's most likely not the most innovative thing in the world if you're like being compliant and everything. So when you came to us, you're like, actually, we're not going to do that. I'm like, oh, well, this whole daily driver thing's happening. And, there's obviously price pressure on a lot of people, the economy, all that, which I would like to get into in this episode. So you come and say, actually, we're going to have a pretty basic pre-workout, 200 milligrams of caffeine. I'm drinking it right now, the ice pop flavor, which is heavy in the lemon, and I like it a lot. But it's not. There's nothing zany going on here, and I feel like we got away from. Things got too crazy with like the $60, $70 pre-workout supplement for a while, and we needed like almost a way out of it. And I think the essential / like daily driver thing is enabled people to. It's okay if you want to have like a lower cost pre-workout and just get after it a little bit.
Well, I think that's part of it, right? The part of the strategy is it's okay that those products exist, and we're just not really competing with them. We are wanting to be accessible to everyone, so people don't have to be making decisions as to, well, do I need my pre-workout before I go work out? I really like it, but I'd rather spend my money elsewhere. Or can they stack up a second product with the same, like, can they make their supplements budget go further? It's not to say that it's going to be for everyone. Some people are going to want the proprietary blends and everything else and the results that are promised, but people are going to also be able to walk into the store and be like, creatine, I heard somebody at the gym, maybe I'll look into what's this going to do for me and test it out.
Yeah, I think also too, from a retailer standpoint, or even as an industry, as a community, right? We're hoping to get new people into the industry, get new consumers into the stores, right? Something $60, 30-day serving, maybe a little too much, whether it's a protein or a pre-workout or whatever. This kind of, allows that entry level, if you will, that's saying, hey, what's a good basic pre-workout? What's a good basic protein, right? That has a good quality. It's not gonna make me feel sick, or it's not gonna, it's gonna be easy to digest, or I'm gonna actually feel it's gonna give me some energy. So along those lines as well too, from a retailer standpoint, hey, here's a real good, not just good value, but it's actually gonna work because the dosages are good. And those daily drivers, it's also, one of the other terms, and we're gonna throw probably a lot of acronyms and some cliches, but in some cases, less is more, right? I mean, do you really need 15 ingredients in a certain product when you can just have like maybe 4 or 5 real good ones at good dosages? Again, it's such a great industry, and what makes innovation so exciting is that there's new news coming out, new ingredients. But at the same time, the basics are the basics because they work, right? They never go away, it never goes out of style, as they say.
Yeah, I don't want to make this too much of a sciencey podcast without talking about ingredients constantly, but. I think at a certain point, we all kind of asked ourselves, like, what is the point of pre-workout? What are the point of these ingredients? Because, people started asking, well, we started getting a lot of comments like, you need this in your pre-workout. And you think about, like, with the amount of ingredients we have access to, the purpose of a pre-workout is to enhance your workout experience, right? Focus, energy, pump, power output. There's a lot of different ways to achieve that. But when people see a $70 ticket attached to that, they'll get pretty hesitant. So how can we improve a pre-workout for $25? It's pretty easy to do, and you guys are doing it at an affordable price, and it's not intimidating to a lot of people too. I personally think, I haven't seen examples of this, but I think open up a pre-workout, you get this massive scoop. You got to drink all this stuff down. A lot of early consumers are going to be intimidated by that. And the fact of the matter is, you could be like every other brand out there and scrounge to get customers on your side, or you could be appealing to the general mass, which is really, I think that's where the large demographic is.
Yeah, I agree, and that was part of our vision as well too. Like we wanted to appeal to the general mass as well too, and get a lot of first-time consumers, or certainly like more newer consumers that can buy more and feel comfortable. And that's, sooner or later they may elevate their own game to want a pre-workout that has 12 ingredients and is a 40-gram scoop. That's cool, right? But for us, we figured, hey, if we take that less is more approach in the right dosages and the right formats, and be very transparent, people know exactly what they're getting, and also for the retail staff in store, that they can explain it very easily. Hey, you're getting the 4 ingredients in this specific pre-workout, are citrulline and arginine and caffeine, and they can just tell the story over and over. It keeps it easy for the retail staff as well, because we are big on education. Part of our mantra as well too is, how do we educate the stores and their staff to talk to that consumer? We'll do it on our end, direct to the consumer on our on platforms like this and other ones, but at the same time, how do we keep it simple, right? Because there is a case for more simplified nutrition for sure.
I can definitely tell you for a fact, as someone that makes content for like retailers to educate people, it's a huge hurdle. It's a massive hurdle. In the past, we've talked with brands over the last few years who've come out with what I would consider to be innovative, like Mike said, while still being compliant. But then you got to give it to an employee of a store that, no offense to any retailer out there, most of them are college level people. They don't have a ton of education on ingredients, and the turnover rate, they might be in and out. To give them a full education on every study, on every ingredient, it's going to be a bit of a hurdle. Keep it simple, keep it easy to explain to a consumer, easy to get across. The point is, it's going to help you improve your workout, improve your recovery, improve your performance. It's a very simple and easy way to get it across at an affordable price.
Yeah, I think the other piece, and that's the Glanbia partnership with Whey, is the quality ingredients. So making sure that the retailers and the staff, they know the basics in terms of what the product is going to do for the customer, which they can read and pull right from the front of the bottle. But then also we've partnered with Glanbia for our dairy product, again, because supply chain is such an important part of our story of why we want you to be here, so that you can see everything that goes into product development from start to finish. It's not to say the consumer is going to be pulling all the information, but it is an important message that the retailer and the people that are selling in retail are going to see of, it's the same protein as some of these other top brands, so that they can stand behind what they're selling, because that's important. If they know
exactly. Most proteins, they don't disclose where it's from, so they won't disclose where they're manufactured, and they won't disclose what protein it is, if they even know. It might just be whatever. So like, you're already going above and beyond. That's why we're very interested in coming out here to see it get manufactured. That's to us at PricePlow, that's a bit of the holy grail. Now at this point, there's a couple of threads I want to pull on, but they go in different directions. You mentioned going into retail. So one question for me is, what the marketing plan is, how you're going to roll this out, the international stuff, all the possibilities, because you don't have a $70 pre-workout, which means you could probably put this overseas, I'm guessing. And so that's one thread. The other thing is, we start talking about Glanbia, so maybe going through the products and everything. What do you want to do?
One thing I want to note, if people listening or watching don't know about Glanbia, I don't know how you could if you watch PricePlow, but Glanbia is probably one of the largest cheese producers, and they're the biggest player when it comes to whey. And this is the first time that they're actually licensing a trademark name to be on your bottle, which is huge. It may not sound that big because these are just mock-ups.
We'll pull them tomorrow.
Yeah, magically there will be imagery over this video where you see. We'll time travel into the future when it's been manufactured. But this is the first time where Glanbia is licensing this to you guys. That's a huge statement. I mean, Glanbia, a large percent of protein on the market is Glanbia, and you wouldn't know it because they're not allowed to put that on labels. Right. But in this case, you guys are going to be, and that's a huge testament to Glanbia's thoughts on you guys, and what you guys want to bring in terms of transparency to the consumers. And if you don't care about that, even further, you guys are making, at least to us, the testing transparent. The manufacturing is not finished right now, so we don't have it with us right now, but we'll have it kind of attached to this whole story. Testing is becoming a very popular thing to request, and you're totally at liberty to decide what, as a brand, what you guys want to do. But it's a huge testament that you guys want to make that public. At least
it's definitely on our roadmap of how do we make it accessible. It's just, as you know, when launching a brand, lots of pieces need to fall into place. But that is also why we're going to share our test results with you, and we will revisit when we have test results.
Yeah,
out
the
there.
transparency as a whole, just that entire topic from where the protein comes from to the testing on the finished good to
testing raw materials first.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But so the fact that you let us walk freely through here with the production manager, of course, but the transparency is huge.
Yeah, no, it's important. I mean, just starting from the foundation of how this kind of concept of basic supplements came about. On a personal level, as I mentioned, my previous role at BioSteel, we were NSF certified for sport. NSF is the gold standard of certifications for product safety, efficacy, and quality. And while this doesn't have, and NutriBlend is an NSF certified facility, that's why we're here. That's why it was important for me to speak with Laura and say, hey, what if we do something? We're not going to, it doesn't have to be an NSF certified product, but the quality story on all fronts of the brand is so important. From the facility where it's made to the Glanbia partnership that we have to disclosing that. So as you said, the consumer may not know, but the retailer probably does for sure. And it gives them a sense of confidence that, okay, I'm not buying stuff that I don't even know where it's made or how it's made, right? This is Glanbia source protein. That's a partnership for us that we're very proud of. And it was, I think we maybe been a little reluctant to say, hey, what if we put this on the label, right? But to your point, like we were the first ones that we actually are able to do so, and it's something that we're pretty proud about.
Well, okay, let's get into the Glanbia thing a little bit. Right down the table, you have a whey protein blend and a whey protein isolate. Are they both Glanbia based? Yes. Okay, and is it entirely Glanbia or just the main ingredient from Glanbia?
Entirely.
It's entirely Glanbia. So, from your perspective, what are the pros and cons of doing this?
You mean the entirety of the protein?
The protein.
Yes.
So
right, yeah, not
the only protein source is
Glanbia
not
like
yes,
granular, like the xanthan gum.
Good call. Ben.
Okay. Someone will ask.
Someone will ask.
So, obviously, it seems like a big free advertisement for them, I'm guessing. But what are the pros and cons for you? It seems like this product is tied to Glanbia for better or for worse.
Yeah, again, the opportunity to have that partnership for me, it's an absolute honor to have that partnership. Some companies may do so and not disclose it. For us, it was important that if we were going to call out, hey, this is a basic supplements protein, but where it's quality without compromise, that helps put us on that pedestal, right? That we're not compromising quality, and that gives confidence to the retailers and distributors that we work with. So that's the biggest pro. As far as cons, I don't see any cons with it at all when you're working with a Glanbia, right?
The only thing that would be the risk, and we assess this when working through formulation.
Right.
It was a conscious decision of, okay, if we choose Glanbia, that means that we are only ever putting Glanbia protein in the bottle.
It's a single source kind of.
And right now with protein supply chain, that is a consideration. Although I feel it's more of a pro to be like really partnered with Glanbia in this stage right now.
And just full disclosure, that's why Laura's more supply chain operations thinking that way, and I'm more sales thinking like, no cons at all. We're good. Laura, just make it happen.
But Glanbia's most likely not running out of milk anytime soon, are they?
Well, it depends who you are in the supply chain, right? But if you're putting it on the label and you're obviously marketing it to them.
But looking at the consumer hat again, putting the consumer at the forefront with the quality without compromise, kind of as our table stakes and guiding light that we are making decisions for this brand against. Putting Glanbia on label outweighs some of the risks of supply chain in that. It means consistency. It means guaranteed quality to spec. It means our lab is comfortable, confident. We'll be able to recreate different flavors so that they all work together the same, appropriately. So, there are risks. That is with any supplier relationship. Right. Partnering with Glanbia, pretty good supplier to be lining up with, and lines up to what we're building the brand around.
So very exciting news. The full line is what you see here on the screen, but the proteins will be the pinnacle of the product line for sure. Proteins as well: straight whey protein isolate, whey protein blend rather, a pre-workout, a BCA. Creatine, glutamine, so single ingredient formulas, a fat burner thermogenic as well, and then a hydration SKU.
And all powders. No, there's no capsules up here.
None yet. No, that's our next podcast.
Oh, we'll be back.
We'll be back for sure
in the snowy Buffalo. And I can't help but notice. Okay, so we talk a lot about basic supplements and then the flavors.
Yes.
And the basics are what win.
Yeah.
basically chocolate
Yeah.
and vanilla. We got some interesting stuff on the screen I'm looking at.
We do, yeah. You know what? It's cool. I mean, it kind of goes back to the innovation comment that you made earlier. We're not going to innovate against the formulas because we want to stay true to our principles, right? Like basic supplements in terms of like the right ingredients, right dosages that are going to work. But let's have some fun with flavors, right? And that's where innovation flavors. I mean, I remember when we spoke to our flavor partner. We said, hey, can you send us like what's hot, what's the latest? And a 64-page PowerPoint with all these wild flavors came out, and some of them appealed more than others for sure. Some of them we have in the vault. We're ready for some flavor drops in 2025. But sticking with the primary flavors of chocolate, vanilla for proteins for sure, and then a couple of fun flavors that are new. Salted caramel cold brew is my personal favorite. Because I'm a coffee drinker and so on. But I gotta tell you, we were sampling samples of blue marshmallow at a trade show a couple weeks ago, and it was an absolute hit. So we're pretty excited about both. Yeah.
Definitely stay tuned for tomorrow's video where we find out.
You bet. Yeah.
What is?
Here's a little
marshmallow.
teaser. We got a little sample pack here, but we gotta wait till tomorrow, guys. Sorry. Yeah.
I just want to
Nice.
smell it.
And then the one that's been looking at me in the face is the Boston cream donut flavor. Right
Yeah,
there.
so-
my fat childhood days, that was the donut for me.
Yeah, and it still is for me in my in my days today. But that's the one too. Also, too, sampling that out has been a pleasant surprise. The feedback's been phenomenal. I mean, if you ever drink a Boston cream donut, I think that's as close as you're gonna get. But again, just having fun flavors with some proven flavor profiles like peanut butter cookie and Boston cream donut to some extent maybe has been out there, but I think we did it right this time for sure. And just having some fun with the flavors across the whole line.
I actually think the cookies and cream mass gainer is going to taste the best because it's got 190 grams of carbs in it.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's,
How could it not taste good, right?
Yeah.
We've seen a few carbs today in the warehouse.
Yeah, well, that's why we got the basic burn as well too. So we'll
There we go. Yeah.
Life's about balance. Life's about
start shutting
balance.
those down later tonight before dinner.
Yeah, the other cool thing, I guess, when in our past lives working together, when Mark was at BioSteel and I was working at NutriBlend, one of the cool things that you get to work with some customers on, letting the R&D team kind of run wild with what flavors they get so much information from the flavor partners. And so how do we layer in, well, this is an idea, and kind of let them bring some of the ideas forward where we can narrow and kind of have fun and have a collaborative process in terms of flavor design.
It is fun. Speaking about the Boston cream donut, so the first time we tried it in the lab, this goes back maybe to July or something. I was like, I taste the chocolate and I got a bit of custard flavor as well too. And then and Kim in the lab's like, you know what? We can actually add a bit of that fried dough flavor as well too on the next run. And I thought, are you kidding me? Is she being? And I told her, is she being serious? I was like, oh, she's damn serious. Yeah, for sure. So that's working with the lab. Being 2 feet in front of the lab technicians on creating all this is so exciting because truly no request is out of this world, right? Like in so now that being said, again, we're fortunate to work with some of the best people in this industry here at NutriBlend. But I can't wait for you guys to try the Boston cream. It's phenomenal.
Awesome. So I think it's interesting though. You're leading with the protein. That's the first direct to consumer launch.
Yeah.
What is the website while we're at it? It's just basicsupplements.com. Do you have
got it.
That's awesome. And that wasn't owned by anyone.
I know, surprising, right? It
strong
was kind of
enough
when the stars
Yeah.
were aligning, it was like,
Yeah.
that's also available.
how did you not buy that?
Mistake.
Because
Mike
we're
likes
too
to
busy.
pick up websites.
We're too busy. Not that. I've whittled
You got a
down.
couple.
The collection is whittled down. Because we're so busy, we're in about $70 pre-workouts. You missed
That's
that.
right,
Like,
yeah.
that was available.
We're getting off
you're
this.
leading with a protein instead of a pre-workout. Though. A lot of times in the sports nutrition world,
Yeah.
we see pre-workout first, and then proteins don't profit
Yeah.
as much. So by the way,
Yeah.
here's a protein later. You're not doing that.
We're not. You know what? I think again, just being in the industry for such a long time too, protein's always been something. I mean, my first nutritional supplement was a protein powder. Right? It was a whey protein. It was a lot different back in the late 90s and so on. And I think there was only maybe chocolate and vanilla.
Which one was it?
Well, there was two. One of them was Weeder.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and the other one was a straight whey protein. It was from a company called Genuine Sports.
Mine was Designer Whey. So
A Designer Whey,
That was
yeah.
my
I never got Designer Whey at the time. My first one was Weeder.
If you came from Weeder, you are really enjoying this flavor line.
Oh,
Like this is
like
how
you have
far
no
things
idea
have come.
How far things have come. It is true, and it's exciting when you speak about innovation, right? And you speak about like ingredients and tastes and textures and flavor profiles, especially when you talk about protein powders. Because for us, I mean, protein powder is still the staple product, right? When you walk into a GNC, when you walk into a Popeye Supplements up in Canada, it's walls of protein first. Now that being said, pre-workout's right up there. So we wanted to be a player in that as well too. And again, we didn't want to overcomplicate it or over-engineer a formula. We said, if you want to do 40-gram scoops of pre-workouts with 26 ingredients, that's cool. It's not for us, not under this line, right? So how do you keep it simple with 5 ingredients? How do you get people the ability to enjoy your workout? To your point, they're going to get energy, they're going to get muscle pump, they're going to get a bit of focus, right? And how do you keep it under a certain price point where the dosages are going to work and they're going to buy it again? So that was part of the magic behind working with the team here and so on, and putting that together and making it taste good. So we have some cool flavors in pre-workout as well too. I don't want to say it's all protein. We have a cool ice pop flavor, which is still my own personal favorite. Like you mentioned, it's more lemony.
Pre-workout, right?
Yeah,
that's what I'm drinking right now. Yep.
And then the Miami Vice flavor has a bit more pineapple tones to it. And then we have a real special one coming out in the new year, which we're working on, which I can't say what it is right now, but it's pretty unique. Yeah,
It's not blue marshmallow though.
It's not blue marshmallow, although
That's
that'd be a
the
great idea. And it's not blue marshmallow, no.
So talk to us about like the strategy of distribution for you guys, because you're leading heavily with protein, which is not a super profitable category. Although I would say you guys are really leveraging your partnership with NutriBlends here because they are such leaders in protein. Tell us what are you going to do with this? How everyone's bringing a company to the market, but like how are you doing it the best? How are you planning on launching this?
Yeah, I think we want it to definitely be omni-channel for sure and be available everywhere. I mean, it depends. It's such a great industry of people who have been around for 20, 30 years, and some who just started, right? Brilliant minds, and some people saying, I would only do direct to consumer business, right? If I had to do something right now different. For me, I'm a bit of a nerd. I like the stores. I love supplement stores. I try to support them as many times as I can, especially independent ones and also national chains as well too. There's always good selection. I think the retail stores that try to bring in, some things that are new and exciting, but also of quality is really important. So for us domestically, we'll be launching at GNC exclusively in the U.S. market at first. That'll come out in December. We'll have the full line available there. In Canada, we'll be around to all retailers as well too. The international business is very important for us as well too. Given the relationships that we've had over the last 20 years, there's a lot of great markets that you can make work, and have a story that'll resonate with those consumer bases. Although they're thousands of miles away and oceans away, people are still looking for quality protein. People are still looking for a quality pre-workout or a BCA or even creatine, for example. So that's why we try to extend ourselves across the entire line throughout the brand. But again, I think we also realize the importance of, hey, how do you be visible online? How do you educate online? How do you really get in people's minds online? And then if you direct them to a retail store, a brick and mortar store, all the better. If you can get them to make that purchase right online as well too, then you've got that customer hooked, right? Yeah.
Okay, so you're launching at the Olympia 2024. That's direct to consumer. That's when the website opens up, right?
Yes.
Correct.
But it won't be in GNC until December.
GNC we're looking at towards the end of 2024.
Okay, so we're open for that. And then any small brick and mortars that have picked you up?
Brick and mortars as well too. Yeah, so we're working with a distributor as well too. GNC will be the first national retailer.
Oh, I see. But so it won't just be direct to consumer for the next few months.
No, it'll be let me put it this way: we've pre-sold our initial MOQ, which is really exciting, and that's something that again,
Congrats.
It's been, I think. Listen, to be honest with you, the more we talk about a basic supplements line, the premise behind it and the story behind it, I think people get excited, thinking like that's pretty cool, right? That's why chatting with you guys the first time in June at ISSN and now here back today, there's a cool story about that. So I think the more we talk to people, and there's a certain amount of boxes that you want to check off when you're doing something, no matter what it is, right? How do we do A, B, C, and D? And if you can check 3 of those 4 boxes, I think people are pretty happy about it. If you can check all 4, I think, the confidence behind what you want to accomplish, makes everyone feel comfortable, makes everyone feel good. So, having the ability to come out and market and have D2C business, have a conventional retail business, have some international business as well too, and then say, okay, let's do this again. Let's produce some more. We're pretty fortunate, but it's something where I think we've checked a lot of those boxes, if not all of them, for our launch for sure.
That's why I really wanted to ask about the strategy, because there's so many different directions to go right now, but there's also it's really easy to get lost right now. You're launching, and to be frank, we at PricePlow, we get 12 new brands daily right now. And most of them are launching with a different MOQ than you guys are.
Yeah.
But you guys have had to launch with real intent. Later on, we're going to talk with an international distributor, hopefully here. And there's just a different level of execution with this brand, because you guys have pretty far sights on this. So when you say exclusive to GNC, you're just talking big box exclusive pretty much?
Sorry, we're just talking like national retailer, as a national partner for the most part. It would have been, to answer your question too, like I think for us, it would have been, I don't say it would have been easy, because nothing's really easy, especially in this economy today. But it would have been easier if we just said, hey, let's make a brand for, a Walmart, let's say, or let's make a brand for a big box retailer in the mass and really price driven, almost like a private label type brand. It would have been easier for us. I think for us, having those boxes, we want to be in the specialty channel. We want to be at a GNC. We want to be we want to be with a distributor, to have independent guys, because again, I'm a retail nerd, so I love supporting independent regional chains and mom and pops as well too. So let's work with a national distributor on that too. But at the same time, let's also do whatever we can to be a player online as well too, and get that D2C business and get people to talk about us, and let's invest there as well too. So in terms of big box exclusively is just like a national retail partner, because we wanted to stay in specialty. Would it have been easier to really work the price down and work with a big box retailer and more in the mass or grocery? Maybe, but we didn't want to compromise our quality. We wanted that story. We wanted the staff to feel confident to say, hey, this is a real good quality product for the price that you're getting it for.
I would say channel selection really layers back up to that quality without compromise too. There is so much out there, and if the consumer can buy the same product everywhere out of the gate, then it's kind of like, okay, how do I assess the price point that is allocated to this product? Whereas if we are selecting in D2C world and online channels where we have the relationships, where we know that there will be some education around it, where that quality message can come through out of the gate, that's the channel selection. So it's working in the premium, in the specialty retail, and then online.
Yeah, exactly. I think also too, like we mentioned GNC, and in Canada, Popeye Supplements is kind of like the largest retail channel in Canada too, and they do a real good job of having their staff educate as best possible, about the difference of products and so on. And to your point, coming out with a protein could be a bit of a challenge. Someone could look at that as a bit of a challenge. For us, being lucky to be in the game for so long too, we know what kind of hits their checklist of what's important for them. Certainly quality is, certainly price point is for the consumer. As a retailer, as a business owner, they have to make a certain percentage as well too, but they also want to feel confident of what they're going to push, what they're going to sell. They want to have that confidence. Okay, they may say, I like Marc, but I don't know who's behind this, right? Like, is it really Glanbia? Is it, what's behind it? So for us, putting that all together, putting all those pieces of the puzzle truly, and saying, well, we want to do this, and the consumer's looking for that, and the retailer's looking for this, and we want to be quality. How do you make this all fit? So again, fortunately, we were able, to put something together which has created a lot of excitement in both markets, Canada, US, and as you'll meet the international distributor later on, abroad as well too. So again, we're excited about it in terms of trying to, seeing that everything's starting to fit really, really nicely together.
I love the flex that you just said. Like, it'd be easier to just put together something and give it to Walmart. Like,
Yeah.
there's like a couple dozen brands listening. It's like, what does he mean? But it makes sense. Like on the back end, like when we do like product development, I kind of relate to what you're talking about, because you guys have a network of capable individuals that you come together. Like this international distributor that we're going to talk with later, we met them in June as well, and they're all kind of part of this process of making sure that the products fit the channel. And you guys seem to have like a really good handle on channel, the logistics of that channel, and how to fit within that. I got to give a shout. I don't know if you guys watch Josh Schall's stuff. I'm a big fan, like learning from him from business stuff. I didn't understand this early on. I was a big fan of like the big $70 pre-workouts for a long time. And he explained to me that the product needs to fit the channel. The channel should not move to fit the product. And you guys seem to really understand the channels, the needs, and how to like stay within those boundaries.
Yeah, and full disclosure for anyone who, I mean, I did business with Walmart for over 15 years. So, and again, been lucky to work with different brands and selling to them. But easier being like, hey, this is, I mean, because every buyer, you know, pretty much says, hey, give me this, right? Come back to me with something with A, B, C, and D. And if we just want to do this to make money on a one-shot thing, let's do it. Let's give them what they want. For us, we still want to do that, but we also what we want to do for ourselves as a business to build a brand and have a sustainable brand that's going to, you know, also innovate and create new products and get Basic from where it is today, where we're just producing, you know, this week to 10 years from now, have you guys back over here, or we'll come visit you guys, or we'll meet somewhere and do a podcast on, you know, on the success of our 10-year anniversary. But it is something where, yeah, like we really wanted to understand the channel. We didn't want to just kind of go all in on one channel. Like I've heard, can't tell you, people, since I left my old role, people say, you know what, Mark, save yourself all the trouble of, you know, visiting stores and accounts. Just sell to, you know, Costco, right? And just give them what they want. And you know, I know tons of people who do that. Again, it'd be easier per se, but it's also not what the vision that we have of what we want to do for our own brand.
I mean, we've talked a lot about today, or actually over the last few months, you and I have talked about like, it's not just selling in, it's selling through, right? But it's also about the long-term brand equity of like creating a brand that can live in all these channels we're talking about now. And then eventually people will understand it and know enough that they can go to Costco and get a cost-effective version of it.
Exactly.
I think that's a big portion of the, like, it's establishing the foundation. Everything comes back to foundation. So if we're our foundation for messaging, our foundation for where to access the products, people start to understand what the brand is, who the brand is. We don't want to be a quick flash in the pan and then here today, gone tomorrow. So the decisions are, how do we set up for the long term to celebrate that 10-year anniversary as a global brand with the relationships and everything that's come together.
And just one last point on that too. I think for us, Basic was kind of the premise we used in the formulation and creation of the products, but also what we're going back to basics on is the support for the retail partners. So, and especially in the specialty channels. So what does that mean? It means, you know, swag items like the shaker cups that you see in front of you, sample
Ice
packs.
shaker, by the way. You got the good stuff too. This is not basic. This is the best.
It's the ice maker
That's
ice
the best
shaker,
one.
right?
Yeah, socks.
And yeah, so
Laura,
But back to
Laura can speak to the socks.
What is that?
sorry for
I'm in love with these guys.
Yeah.
Laura likes socks.
Laura,
but
you're launching a brand. Where does socks fit on the list of things that you have to produce
I mean,
for your swag?
it was pretty low-hanging fruit.
I love it.
When thinking about like when we're wanting to get brand equity out there in the gym, I mean, like you've got the shakers, but everybody's got a shaker. If you could get the brand on socks, like
Yeah.
Not
why
everyone has
not,
socks.
right?
It is,
Also,
calves,
like
all right,
shipping
all
isn't
right.
inexpensive, and you're shipping a whole lot of air here.
It was a
versus,
choice
like,
between,
a quick one.
Winter's coming. Everyone likes socks.
Seriously,
It was a
bundle
yeah.
up Buffalo.
It makes sense.
It was a choice between like the big boxy, you know, T-shirts that everyone's doing versus like something cool and different. And again, we'll see. We like it as part of our launch plan, but sticking back to basic support for retailers, samples is really important for us, especially when you're talking about protein and pre-workouts, like especially, right? Especially when you have the cool flavors like the blue marshmallow or Boston cream. So for us, we're investing a lot of the resources towards sampling, and that's a basic need for retailers. That's a basic need to grow any brand, whether you're in retail or D2C as well, too, right? So you're going to see truly like hundreds of thousands of sample packs in the marketplace.
Are these running tomorrow? Are we going to see that?
You'll
as
see,
well?
you'll see some.
Oh,
Yeah.
no way. That's
Yeah.
cool. I've
Yeah,
never seen that.
the sachet room.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool.
One cool call out on that is when talking about chocolate and vanilla, like, because we've had so much fun with the flavors, but wanted the baseline staples for people who have been taking protein, like the regular protein users who are buying a competitor's product. They just want to walk in and pick up chocolate protein. They may not be willing to dive into blue marshmallow.
Right.
Of course.
So having the sampling program, so when somebody is leaving with a chocolate or vanilla, then they can send them home and be like, maybe next time they come back for blue marshmallow or salted caramel latte, cold brew, sorry.
How's the sampling program work? Is this going to be at the retailers? Like, how?
So we boxed up all the samples. They're kitted so that they can have them behind the counter in like little 20 packs.
So we're going to end up
and-
seeing them on eBay on PricePlow. Is that-
Maybe, yeah.
sorry, it
There was
happens.
a process. I call it the glory days of GNC. I don't. I don't know if they'll appreciate that, but when I worked at GNC, behind the counter, it's like you scan something and it would come up on the computer like, hey, these different bins, throw these. And we were able to give like dozens of samples. Probably weren't allowed to, but we did. Is that how this is basically going to be going out to GNCs to go out with orders?
We're going to partner with GNC for sure, with sampling as well too. They have some different vehicles that we're just kind of finalizing right now to their client base, their customer base in store and also online as well too. So you'll see that in marketplace. You'll see this part even with our retail partners themselves to try. I think it's it's one of the things where will there be a massive Red Bullish type of grassroots guerrilla marketing with protein powders? Probably not, but definitely at events that we want to support and partner with, we'll be utilizing those for sure.
Awesome. But we'll start to see stick packs for the non-dairy items as well.
Hydration, all that.
Yeah.
So your website does say like sign up form, email address, and then it does say there will be samples available.
Yes.
Absolutely.
What are you shipping out? Like what and when? Are you planning on doing for the samples for people who sign up on your website, basicsupplements.com?
So anyone who signs up on basicsupplements.com, we're sending out, it was part of like the teaser building up to launch, but we'll be carrying it through and sending through to collect all of the mailing information. But they'll get one of each of the kind of cool flavors. So by the time it hits the store in retail, they will maybe have tried one of the blue marshmallow and might be ready to commit to a big tub.
So you're not sampling vanilla at all?
No.
Okay, gotcha.
No,
I like that plan. Okay.
Salted caramel cold brew in the isolate, along with peanut butter cookie, and then blue marshmallow and Boston cream in the way.
How many blue marshmallows? Okay, let's say I'm running 10,000 vanillas. How many blue marshmallows? Like, we're making flat numbers. How many blue marshmallows do you run? Knowing that most people are buying chocolate and vanilla still.
Yeah, you know what? I love studying that kind of data, to be honest. Like, I'm industry nerd, retail nerd, data nerd. Yeah, me too. And I've learned my lessons throughout my last 15 years of being in sport nutrition for sure. Certainly with BioSteel before, and working as a distributor with multiple brands, right, who are doing protein pre-workouts. Pre-workouts are very similar too, right? I think we talked about this maybe this morning on the old bodybuilding.com. Like you'd have all these flavors and still fruit punch and blue raspberry, right? Chocolate vanilla, same thing. Probably most cases, probably like a 3-to-1 ratio, I think is what people do see. For us, again, it depends what your second and third flavor are. I think at launch everything's a bit skewed because people want to try it, the intrigue of trying it, and so on. But after it's all said and done, we anticipate a chocolate vanilla, 1 and 2 as it is everywhere,
right?
And probably in a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 type ratio. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. I almost thought it would be even fewer blue marshmallows, but
you know what, the blue marshmallow is cool. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, it's an upcoming flavor profile which some will attribute to, let's say, like an ice cream type flavor, and others will attribute it to, let's say, a cereal type flavor.
Okay.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. But you guys have to try it tomorrow.
I'm looking forward to it.
And for samples, you can go to basicsupplements.com or get Basic Supps is our Instagram handle as well too. It's worth mentioning, right?
Yeah. Can I ask? It was kind of funny. I was thinking before you guys were talking about like a foundation and basic. It's like your foundation is still like a skyscraper compared to where a lot of brands start. It's very commendable. But you were talking about basic or old school with retail support. That's a phrase that we hear thrown around a lot, but no one really ever defines it. So I was curious if you could talk about what retail support means to you and what you guys are going to do with it.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's funny whether I mean, again, I mentioned before that I worked for a couple companies on the U.S. business and in the Canadian business, both distributor as a brand, and so on. And retail support is the same across both sides of the border, right? How do you give the mom and pops or the national chains, the ability to be profitable as best possible, right? How do you build the brand? Nothing upsets me more, and I mentioned this as a joke during lunch today, but I walked into a store and I said, hey, how does, the brand that I was representing at the time said, how's this brand work? Guy's like, yeah, it's good, man. People come and ask for it. I'm looking at the date thinking, thing expired, right? Like we failed. This brand failed because we didn't promote it enough. We didn't have our hands on top of the business, right? And you're right, Ben. A lot of brands, I've seen them, I've seen the brands, we've all seen them, right? They just get that sell in and figure like, hey, my job's done. Now it's up to marketing to make it sell, or now it's up, now the retailer's gonna make it sell because I gave them the margin that they want. You have to be a true partnership, and that's another thing that gets thrown around. Partnership gets thrown around a lot. For us, retail support and partnership is all about how do we give them a product that's going to be profitable for them. Number one, that's going to have a story behind it. Number two, that we're going to communicate that story effectively, both in store, but to the consumers? How do we drive demand in that side of the store? These are all kind of like the basics or fundamentals of supporting retail. I've been lucky to learn a lot through my last 20 years working with big brands like Muscle Tech and other brands that came into the Canadian market. Sampling was key for us. I remember a time when a brand that I had as a distributor said to me, we're going to give you 1 million samples of our pre-workout. And I thought to myself, that's pretty aggressive. You know what? They didn't give us 1 million, but they gave us about 750,000. Right under it. And they probably would give us 1 million if time allowed. So that's important for us as well, too, of sampling, hence what you see in front of you today. Also, to education. One thing I learned along in my time is that if I can get and retail education is very, very tricky. A lot of good national chains do it really well, especially here in the U.S. But if we can make it easy for that retail staff member to talk about our product and have those 3 bullet points. Because at the end of the day, when someone asks, hey, do you need help with anything? Most times we say, no, we're good. But it doesn't stop there. How do you make it conversational, right? How do you say, you're looking for a pre-workout? This one's really cool because it's got, a full dose of citrulline, it's got creatine, it's got caffeine, it's got huperzine, and they can kind of talk about, what those ingredients do. How do I get him to say that message and make him feel confident about saying it versus just trying to stray away? That being said, there's a lot of turnover, causes a lot of work, but we're a hardworking group behind the brand as well too, and we know some of the challenges that they face in store. So retail support, how do we give them, the ability to make profit and sustainable profit? Mm-hmm. How do we support in terms of promotion? How do we create awareness? How do we educate their staff? How do we educate our consumer to go in there and buy comfortably and keep doing that, ongoingly? Mm-hmm. So I think those are part of the check boxes that we're looking to.
We like to interact with people across the entire gradient of retail, whether it's brands or the retailers, from the national chains to the smaller chains, and we hear a lot like we need support from brands, but it's always unclear what that really means, because in my eyes, you want to give that retailer a brand that they can succeed with, and then put them in the best position to succeed. But a lot of times, it also just sounds like they're asking for better margins and exclusivity. And then consumers go in store and they have all the opportunities to sell them basic, but maybe they sell them private label. And so you put yourself in a precarious situation where you're really putting yourself out there, right? You're trying to ask the girl to dance, but she's got a lot of other options,
It's a great conversation because this came up actually last week on a phone call, and it's like, I can give you all the margin you want. You want to make 60 points? Sure, but I want to have money to promote it and drive awareness, drive consumers in there. So what are you making 60% on? 2 units that you sell a month, right? Let's agree on what you need as a benchmark. Let me take that money and reinvest it in the brand to build awareness and drive demand and make your staff comfortable to talk about it. And I think, again, like, this industry is so great, right? I mean, it's given everyone, all of us who've been here for such a long time, we've learned so many lessons from friends of ours who are with other companies or brands. And you see what other companies have done, you think, okay, that's pretty cool. And for us, on the branding standpoint, bringing the information to the very front. Someone told me the other day at a trade event in Canada, they said, it almost has like that newsprint feel to it, right? And you want to kind of stop by and read what's on it. That's really cool you guys did. And I thought, that's pretty cool. I didn't think of that. That's pretty cool. Someone else said, you're doing what the RX bar did, putting everything at the front. Here's what it is, no BS, right? Nothing else. And then so you hear that and you think, wow, that's pretty cool too. So how do we make it easy for the consumer to know exactly what they're getting, feel comfortable in their purchase? How do we make it easy for even the staff member, even if the person started yesterday, and he wants to talk about it? He's like, this pre-workout's pretty good because it's got these 4 ingredients. It gives you X, Y, Z. That's pretty cool. He can just read off the front without, feeling like he's lost. He's got to, squint his eyes and look on the back. So there's a lot of cool things we tried to accomplish. But retail support overall for us, like, we want to be in it for the long haul. Like, we're not, and that includes, retail support, distributor support, both domestic and overseas.
I like all that. I didn't get newspaper. I feel
What's
like
a newspaper these days, right?
I understand.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand what they're saying. I thought it looked like let's say a new stab at a nutrition facts panel that's a little bit more upfront, right? Like, I use my parents as examples, right? Because my parents, they care about what they put in their bodies, but they're not as educated on supplements as I am. But my parents could look at this and know exactly what they're getting, what it's for. They may not understand what a mass gainer would do for them, but they'll look at it, high-calorie muscle. My mom's like, no, I'm not getting that. And that's the point,
That is not
right?
for me, yeah.
But like someone who knows they want to put on weight, they'll see that like, oh, high-calorie muscle mass gainer. That's exactly what I'm looking for. It's very easy to understand, where nutrition fact panels kind of can be hard to understand. The claims are right in the front. It tells you exactly what you guys are about. It's there's benefits, but it's also trustworthy. And there's a QR code for you to learn more.
Yeah, I was gonna ask for where's the QR code sending people?
It'll land up on the product page on the website. So it takes you right to the product page, and then you can see what are the available flavors and get some more information in terms of the call outs.
Long term, are there plans to get the lab test up on that page, or is that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
Yes.
I know that's obviously not easy to do, and we've been looking at solutions in that.
Not necessarily at the QR code, but to the point where you'd be able to enter.
That's really important for us as well too. Like being the brand name itself, Basic Supplements, but also the transparency at the front of the label. But also, if you want to dig in more and find exactly, what those tests dictate, you can. We want to definitely be transparent with that. I love the fact. Just wanted to say one thing. I love the fact that you said about your parents would look at that and say like what's in there exactly. For us, again, like talking about retail support, it serves a retailer no real support to say like, well, this guy used to buy product X, now he's buying basic, so that's great. It's not. We want to get those new consumers walking in to feel comfortable buying it, right, in those stores. With some education, hopefully, the retail associate in that store, when they buy basic whey or basic ice, they can upsell them on a multivitamin, right, or upsell them on a greens. Products that aren't under the basic line right now. That's important for us because it's building that basket. And how does it start with a brand that for those novice consumers or those first-time consumers walking in, that's important for us. And I think that's where a lot of the retailers that we're talking to, both Canada and U.S., see that opportunity, right?
Yeah. I like it a lot within the scope of retail support. Kind of where I was going with it is that there's a lot of really great label designs out there. There's embossed labels, there's foils, there's all sorts of like sandpapers and crazy stuff. Everyone's kind of doing it, and a lot of things look really, really great. But for consumers to be able to look at the bottle and know exactly what it is and why they would purchase it, that is kind of support in its own way because they don't have to be confused. I don't like talking to store associates in any industry, not supplements, but you can literally look at it and be like, oh, all right, I could purchase this and I could know what I'm getting. That seems like a big support for customers.
It's exactly it, and again, being around for such a long time too, you tend to like. Actually, we're talking about this morning. We're gonna go mystery shop a couple stores while we're here, just kind of find out what's selling, what's not. And mystery shopping is always kind of cool when you're in the market because, not that you want to test the retail store, the associate, but you want to see what's on top of their mind. Right, and what are they leaning towards? And there's a reason. Maybe the rep from X brand number X was in there yesterday doing a training. Who knows, right? But you see it, and I kid you not. Like one of the inspirations behind this brand was going into a store and just doing my own shopping and then hearing what the associate's talking about. And a female customer walks in a store and says, "I'm looking for something just like right now. I just take BCAAs, but I want something before I do my workouts. It's going to be more energy, like a pre-workout." And you can tell she was almost hesitant to say pre-workout. Well, the staff associate tries to sell her this like the label itself said mega dosed high stim. It's like, dude, that's not good. That's not what she's looking for. Like, give her something with BCAAs and caffeine maybe, or something that's going to, ask her what kind of workout she's doing too. She may just be doing hot yoga and feel she needs a bit of an edge, right? So that's where, in terms of retail support, educating them, but also having it right there for the consumer as well to identify like, okay, this is going to help me improve my energy and give me some mental focus and, and help support blood flow, let's say. Yeah, I'll try it for sure.
So one thing that we haven't talked about is that you chose for artwork. You went with the more cartoony feel. Is that, I don't know what the real words are. And yes, Laura, I know these are not the final tubs, so we're going to have a much glossier thing coming, but the artwork stands, right?
The artwork stands, yeah.
How did that design process and decision go, whereas you chose the cartoony Boston cream donut versus like a real picture of one?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I'm a bit more biased because I did the previous role I worked with Laura on the manufacturing side. We were looking at fun flavors like that, and ultimately how to make people taste with their eyes, right? We see that all the time. People taste with their eyes. So for us, if we're gonna go a bit more on the call out side, we had different renditions, and I think if you walk through our office here, you'll probably see versions 6, 7, and 24, right? That were a lot different. But for us, it was important to say, how do we come out with the flavor splash really big and effective? It's going to stand out. So while there's a lot of text on the label, the graphics of the flavors kind of sticks out, so it draws people attention. That
it's
as
still
well.
1/4.
It's all part of the approachable, like you said, your mom's going to come and pick up the bottle and be like, "Oh, I need more protein in my diet." Yep. But then the flavor makes it still approachable, and it's not like a super clinical product. It's going to give you the benefits. It's going to taste great, and the flavor.
I think it's balanced as well.
Yeah.
I think.
Right.
it's a funny word to use because it is very like nutrition facts panel-y, and then it's like over exuberantly like flavor, but there is a cool balance to that. Whereas like wherever the personality was kind of pulled from these other words, it really all sits in the flavor. And to me, it makes sense. I found whey. I know what whey is, and wow, that blue marshmallow is really interesting.
Okay.
It seals the deal for me.
But turn it around. Look how big. Is it me or is this supplement facts panel huge? Like these
Not
fonts.
final.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's large.
Okay,
Well, to be
I
fair,
like
on a
it
5 pound, it will be large.
Yeah.
You are right.
I'm thinking like other 5-pounders. I don't remember the font being as big as this, and I
We'll pull
think
one down tomorrow.
It depends on the
Okay.
brand, but yes and no.
because I like. I'm not getting that old where I need a phone to like zoom in on things just yet. I'm on my way. Let's be honest, but you could read this like from a far distance.
You know what? So the final copy is not going to be as large, but it's still fairly large.
Yeah, I like that.
And
All right.
and part of our mantra is also like there's nothing to hide. Like this is it.
Yeah.
Right. And look at it. This is the grams of protein, grams of carbs, grams of fats.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is what the ingredients in there. We could have some brands, and I've worked for some of them. They put a huge romance copy, almost like an autobiography on everything about their brand and the people behind them. And it's cool. That's good. I mean, for us, it was like, hey, you know what? This is the label at the front, it's the label on the back. Nutrition facts panel, nothing to hide, easy to read and understand. Feel confident buying it. Yeah.
Yeah,
If we're
I
gonna,
say
if
go
we're gonna,
big with that.
if we're gonna say no filler, no gimmicks,
Yeah.
no BS, then that has to stand across.
I also can give you the regulatory compliance answer here.
Okay.
How far
Is
are we
it
into this
amino-
podcast? Are the professionals watching? No, there's a real answer for this. The font of these things are dependent on the other fonts on the bottom.
Right. There are
So
ratios.
it is comparative to the other stuff. So whereas all of this stuff is large, it will be compared to that.
And then you can't drop the number, or you can't drop the point size below 6 on
Correct.
some of these smaller.
Oh,
types.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so it's all ratios here. It does look kind of large. I do think they're a little smaller on the finals, but it's not going to be that much smaller. Yeah.
Okay. Are the amino acid profiles still on the
They
on
would
the finals?
Be. They would be, yes.
Okay. Cool.
Transparency.
That's- Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very, very.
I was going to make a joke that nostalgia is very in right now, and reading all that
Yeah.
romance copy on the back, or even just this reminds me of reading like the cereal box while eating the cereal. I like to read these boxes.
Well, we
while I
didn't
eat them.
say there's actually a free prize inside the 5 pound.
Oh,
There's a
perfect.
free toy inside.
Awesome. It's the creatine bottle.
That's right. That's right. Actually, yeah, you know, you can get actually your sample packs inside the
Little
5
sachet.
pounder, right? No, maybe we do that.
You could totally
could totally
put
do
the
that.
blue marshmallows in the chocolate.
You know what?
vanillas.
That we may have just stepped onto something pretty
have to
cool
talk to
here.
Tarun.
We'll have to talk to regulatory
She
and
has something to
operations,
say
but
about
yeah,
that.
Yeah, they might.
that's your call, Laura. I'm just the sales guy. That's it. Yeah.
You must be running a lot of samples if you're willing to do that. This is exciting.
We're gonna have a lot of
We're-
samples.
we're
I think
already
that was
running
important for us, and we said if we're gonna do this, you know, we want to do a couple sizes that fit the value and also the entry level, but at the same time, samples are key. And again, it's going back to those basic fundamentals of launching a brand years ago. And you know, we all times are tougher now, right? For all of us, for consumers, for brands, for companies, manufacturers. But sampling is so key, right? That never goes away. That's never going to stop saying no. People who say like, oh, you don't have to sample anymore. Well, you don't have to be as aggressive, but for us, there's different ways to sample, right? You can sample with an online giveaway. You can sample, you know, in stores and demos, the old traditional demos where you shake it up and pour it in little, you know, Dixie cups, or, you know, kind of integrate both. Do in-store sampling, do online samplings, grab some data, get some consumer feedback, you know, and effectively. But at the end of the day, you know, if we were going to help that retail support, you know, platform and help retailers sell more product, get people to try it, get people to taste, get people to like it, and hopefully they jump on it.
I was going to say, from a retail support, that's one thing that it's been awesome working with Marc from the ground up, right? Like building the foundation of what decisions are we making that are just like, that's just the way it's always been done, and kind of blowing up some of that model of, okay, well, it's always been that way, but then it creates some weird tensions between sales and marketing, or what does this look like in terms of go-to-market strategy? So it's like, okay, well, what do retailers need? And then how do we support them so that Marc has kind of an arsenal of like, these are all the things that we have available for you. Plus our packaging is designed this way. Plus we're activating this online to build brand awareness. Plus we're going to do sampling with consumers to drive trial. So it's kind of piecing all the big pieces together and working with a select number of retailers so that we don't overextend and so that we can actually make impact with consumer out of the gate.
Yeah, and I think also too, like retailers' goals haven't changed over the last couple decades either. They just want to sell more product, get customers come back inside, right? So if you know, when partnering with our company, in our brand, they're going to be guaranteed to get select amount of samples, right, with their orders. They're going to be able to let people to try it, and whether that person jumps from brand X to our brand, it's great. If they don't, at least there's added value for that customer to walk in there knowing there's samples, right? I mean, customers or retailers rather will have sampling behind the counter and bag stuffing, and also they'll have their own customer appreciation events, right, where they're going to give swag bags to the first 100 customers who line up in the morning. So just partnering like that, when you partner with us, you're guaranteed to get that support.
Industry
as well,
win right there. I like it.
Yeah.
Up a little bit.
For sure.
So, are you gonna have ambassadors or any like high level athletes or anything like that? Coupons? Like, what is your plan for that?
Yes, it's in the works.
Okay. I'm not. Yeah,
stay tuned.
Like,
stay tuned.
Where you prioritize this, or what if like there's some company in Dubai who just wants to put down like the mother load order, and like does that become priority over getting some ambassadors or whatever? Like
no, like we're again, it's another box on our checklist that we want to accomplish. We know we need ambassadors. Do we need the A-listers? I think we talked about this before as well too, right? You can get the A plus lister of professional athletes or celebrities. Are they going to really move the needle, right? It's been proven, it's questionable, right? I think it's been proven probably on the other side of actually accomplishing something. Sorry, go ahead.
You guys mentioned not wanting to be a flash in the pan. You mentioned wanting to grow a brand that has equity over time. And, athletes have a lifespan, literally and figuratively. But like when it comes to brands and how much people want to pay attention to them and the things that they're pushing or maybe just advocating for, it's a short-term play when it comes to athletes, and that scale of whether or not that's short-term to you scales obviously. But I think that with your guys' network, I mean, you're obviously leveraging retail network and international, and that seems like much more of a longevity play. Supplementing that, if you'll forgive the pun, with some affiliates and athletes, I think makes a lot of sense because, like you said, retailers really haven't changed much, but over the last couple of years, specialty foot traffic has really decreased, and so a lot of these guys are looking to you guys to drive foot traffic and interest in new consumers. I don't think the brand itself actually does that because it's approachable and interesting and relatable for a lot of people. But, at the end of the day, you see the success that GNC and Vitamin Shoppe has had with some big affiliates and athletes.
And for us, and that's important too. Like, again, luck. I keep saying this over and over again, so I apologize one more time. But really lucky to learn a lot from other brands of what they've done. Both what they've done really good, and other ones that that didn't work out. So you learn through that, and at the end of the day, it's about those athletes aren't going to come into a Vitamin Shoppe or GNC and buy the shelf off of product, right? The consumers are. Now, some of those consumers are influenced by those athletes, sure, but really building that movement and again, there's some brands who've done a real good job without any athlete, without any celebrity, right? Building that movement, that consumer base, that loyal consumer base to get them to come in that store and buy again and again and again. That's our goal, right? That's where we're not walking away from. So to your point, Mike, I mean, if we get that larger national order saying, I want to buy the whole thing, we're here for the long haul. Like we're here, we want to support. We made this again. We made a decision that if we're going to do this, we're going to do it in the specialty channel first. Have a real cool brand. We're going to have fun with it. We're going to work hard, and we're going to learn a lot. But at the same time, we're going to leverage our network of the partnerships that we're comfortable with working with, and have make this a hell of a ride for sure.
I was going to say from an ambassador and affiliate program, it's definitely on roadmap to help build brand awareness. But it is about again choosing the right people that line up with that. Stick to the basics, and the basics works. So that's kind of the messaging behind the people that we are looking to align ourselves with. And if it is feeling more transactional, that's not necessarily the play that builds the long-term brand equity. So we are looking for longer-term partnerships, but then also like, how do we get some educational content from these people? How do they do a perfect push-up, or what's their basic routine at the gym? So building more content around what does this lifestyle look like, and how are supplements part of that lifestyle? And
that's generally not going to come from like an NBA or NFL athlete who probably doesn't push that much whey protein as it is. Like I'm with you. Okay.
So it's more about like building a foundation for like how do I achieve my greatness, and what are the basics of my routine, and those are the people that we're going to be affiliating with.
I think also too, like I think I shouldn't even interrupt you. You hit it on the head. The people that we're going to be working with that are going to be announced in due time and sooner than later is going to be those who they actually live by that back to basics mantra in their training, maybe in their diet, and certainly in their supplement program as well too.
And coming back to the not worrying about what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
I stay in my lane, I do the work, and I manage the basics.
Well, it's funny because you've mentioned a couple different times like general mass pop and new users and stuff, and I don't know that you drive that super reliably well by signing a big athlete, right? You'll get there people that hop brand to brand, but you're talking about like simple, straight to the point training and diet and stuff. There's some great ambassadors and affiliates out there, but you use those words, ambassador and affiliate. You didn't use the word athlete. When I hear athlete, I think like, oh, we're going to sign another top 5 Mr. Olympia competitor. He'll be gone in 3 years when his contract's up. And I mean, no offense to anyone, but like, again, we've learned from the mistakes that we'll say others have made, but some of us have made these mistakes as well. And we learn from them. And there are some phenomenal athletes out there that will create content and stick by you and really do justice by the brand. And there are some athletes out there that they're there to get a salary. They'll create the content on time when necessary, and when the contract's out, they're out. And you want to build something that lasts, and that's a very concerted effort that you have to remember. And I don't think it's super important in the scheme that you guys are looking at. You don't have to throw a ton of money at an athlete.
And when you mentioned someone doing like how to do the perfect push-up or whatever, like something basic, like we joke a lot about like the biohackers and stuff who are doing coffee enemas, for instance, and we make fun of this all the time. That's not going to be on your channel. And I think I just had this like refreshing feel. I'm like, oh, like normal people can work with you, and you're not going to have to worry about seeing the coffee enema.
And just looking at content that can be created like organically of, hey, this is how I incorporate protein. This is my protein pancake recipe. This is how I put protein because I don't like it in a shaker. Yeah. So trying to get people, like again, from the new user, new adoption, how do we educate people about supplements and how to incorporate them to get the benefits that you are looking for, or that they hear people talking about but don't know how to approach a bottle.
Yeah. I wanted to mention that from the beginning of the podcast when you mentioned coming from an agency background. Through the course of our calls and discussions, it's been a really refreshing difference because most people come in, Mark, you can appreciate this. Like a lot of the people that we talk to in this industry have been doing this for a couple decades, and they do the same strategy at a new brand, and they just rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat. But you've come at this from a very like analytical standpoint, like very fresh and basic standpoint. And it just makes sense, right? You're just doing the things that are on brand, and they make sense that they're going to actually work, and not just throw money at the same thing that we've been trying for years.
Well, and a lot of it's test and learn, right? So a lot of it is, I think I have this, I have an idea that we can try to see what kind of impact it's going to make. If it doesn't work, it's not like we're going all in against it, because again, we don't want to be flash, and we want to try to be true to our back to basics message. And a lot of marketing, it's not my reference, but something I heard on a podcast actually recently was taking an analogy of a football field. And so old school brand was about the brand building and the story, and there weren't really metrics. It's like, okay, well, we ran this ad, and then all of a sudden, like going back to like Mad Men era of ran this ad, and then there was an uplift. And then all of a sudden the emergence of all this data came about, and it was all about the quick transaction into the end zone. So it's like, okay, what's the play that's going to get us to the end zone quicker? That's not going to build brand equity. That's just somebody who's going to react to a different shopping channel. I think consumers are getting really smart about that too. So it's like, okay, how are we going to marry up our Hail Mary pass or like our progress down the field to the next 10 yards? Okay, convert, and they're going to go somewhere else, and then they come back to us because it's a long-term play, right? Like you have to mix the brand story, the brand message with the transaction. So it's not to say the transactional plays aren't going to be there. We still want to be easy for people to purchase. It is basic. But at the same time, it is how do all the pieces fit together, from retail to online to different ambassadors to the different retail channels and partners that we're working with to tell the story and keep the brand and build the brand.
Yeah, I'm not a huge football person, but what I'm understanding is you have to mix the rushing plays with the throwing plays, right? You can't be waiting until fourth down to send it on home. But also, I mean, we know a lot of e-commerce brands that are constantly talking about conversion, but no one's ever heard of them. And they might be making a ton of money, but Costco doesn't care. Right? Like Costco is not going to look at your Shopify account and see all the conversions and think this is going to matter in store, right? You have to build a foundation, like we've been saying a million times here, that is going to matter to others. You can't have a fly-by-night operation and expect that to transact long-term.
And that's the third pillar, right? Made for everyone. We need that messaging to come across. So the decisions that we're making are essential ingredients. So what goes in the bottle and maintaining the quality and making sure that we're staying tight with our operation and with R&D at product design to partnering. Like that is why we are manufacturing here, and that is why you are here. And powerful results. So again, what goes in the bottle, but then made for everyone. It needs to come across that the people are going to feel that the products are accessible, they understand what they're taking them for, and then they affiliate with the brand.
Yeah.
Let's say this turns into a massive grand slam. Do you have concerns about outgrowing this facility that we're visiting here? I don't want to insult them or anything, but we're here. I mean, like, I don't know. That's the question.
I guess I would want to just add, like, we haven't said much of this yet, but like anyone who's listening to this and knows the industry knows the scale that NutriBlends is at. Just to set like the perspective for that question, like we walked past a case in the front room that had like some large names from over decades of industry that NutriBlends has handled and taken care of. So to put that perspective, like, do you expect that to be an issue?
I would say that I don't have concerns about capacity, but that would be also good conversation with Jack.
Yeah, we should definitely bring him on because what I'm just gonna say here is that it seems like if you want to mix some really large like protein powders and you've outgrown some of the smaller manufacturers, this is definitely a place to talk to, if nothing else. So
No doubt, for sure.
yeah. Okay. Awesome.
I don't know if Jack knows this, but I actually met Jack at a party last year at the GNC franchise, and I heard him saying a couple times in a row that they make a lot of whey. Like I hear that from a lot of manufacturers, but I did a little digging and I believe him. To outgrow this facility would be a great problem.
Right.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
phenomenal
we are
problem.
winning and
Yeah.
celebrating
Okay.
our 10-year
Yeah.
anniversary
They gotta
if
come
we've
back.
outgrown it.